Welcome to a journey through the eerie and unexplained. Today, we delve into 6 chilling true stories from hospitals around the world that will leave you questioning reality. Hospitals, places meant for healing, hope, and the vulnerable, can become stages for unsettling events, blurring the line between our world and the next. Get ready to question everything you thought you knew as we explore the dark side of these sterile halls and encounter those who may never truly check out. Imagine yourself a nurse working the night shift. The halls are silent, eerily lit, and you're alone, making your rounds. As you turn a corner, you see him, an elderly man in a hospital gown. He steps into the elevator. You hurry to catch up, but when the doors open, the elevator is empty. Later, another nurse mentions that the basement used to be the hospital morgue. From then on, you can't shake the image of the elderly man in the elevator. Was he a figment of your imagination, or something more? Dr. Evans, a seasoned physician, sat at his desk, reviewing his patient files. He had a busy day ahead, but one appointment stood out: a checkup with Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith had been battling a long illness, and Dr. Evans was determined to see him through it. He greeted Mr. Smith warmly, noting his frail appearance. They discussed his treatment plan, and Dr. Evans reassured Mr. Smith that they were doing everything they could. Later that week, a nurse approached Dr. Evans, her face pale.
"Doctor, I have some unsettling news," she stammered. "Mr. Smith, he passed away 2 days ago. I attended his funeral myself."
Dr. Evans was stunned. He could have sworn he'd just seen Mr. Smith. He vividly remembered their conversation, the weight of Mr. Smith's chart in his hands. He dismissed the nurse, attributing his confusion to stress and exhaustion, but deep down a seed of doubt had been planted. The next day he requested Mr. Smith's file. As he read the date of death, the same date he had examined Mr. Smith, a shiver ran down his spine. The impossible had happened. He had interacted with a man who, according to all records, was already gone. The new wing of the children's hospital stood silent and dark. One night, a nurse noticed a small, perfect handprint on the window of a locked and unused room. She tried to wipe it away, but the handprint remained. The next morning, the cleaning staff scrubbed the window thoroughly, but by nightfall the handprint had reappeared. Was it a playful spirit reaching out from beyond the veil, or something more unsettling? Deep within the corridors of a centuries-old hospital in India, there lay a room shrouded in whispers and dread, room 103. Patients reported vivid nightmares and waking with unexplained scratches. Fear spread throughout the ward, and nurses dreaded being assigned to the room. The hospital administration decided to seal off room 103, but even in its isolation, the room continued to exude an unsettling aura. The air in room 212 was thick with the scent of antiseptic and impending loss. A frail man lay in bed, his breath shallow. A young nurse, Sarah, sat by his side, offering words of comfort. As the man drifted closer to death, his grip tightened on Sarah's hand.
"Nurse," he rasped. "Tell room 307. Tell them I won't be long now."
Sarah frowned, confused.
"Room 307? She asked gently.
The man shook his head weakly.
"Just tell them. I'm on my way."
Moments later, his hand went limp. He was gone. Sarah couldn't shake the dying man's words. Curiosity got the better of her, and she found herself standing outside room 307. She heard a commotion inside. A doctor emerged, his face grim. S2, as doctor. "We just lost him," he said. "Poor Mr. Jones. He passed just moments ago." Sarah's blood ran cold. "Mr. Jones, room 307. The dying man's words echoed in her ears. He knew, but how? The tension in the operating room was palpable. The patient, a young woman, lay on the table, her life hanging in the balance. Dr. Thompson, the lead surgeon, worked tirelessly. Suddenly, Dr. Thompson clutched his chest, his face contorted in pain. He stumbled back from the table, collapsing to the floor.
"Heart attack," someone shouted. "We need a crash cart in here now."
As the medical team rushed to Dr. Thompson's aid, another figure stepped forward, calmly taking his place at the operating table. The figure, a man dressed in surgical scrubs, picked up the scalpel and continued the intricate surgery with a steady hand. The team, focused on saving Dr. Thompson, barely registered the new doctor's presence. Hours later, as the young woman was wheeled into recovery, the medical team gathered, exhausted but relieved. S1 as nurse. Who was that doctor who took over? A nurse asked. He was incredible, he saved her life. Narrator. A confused silence fell over the room. No one knew who the mystery doctor was. He wasn't on the staff and no one remembered calling for another surgeon. They reviewed the security footage, but the cameras showed only the operating room door, and no other doctor had entered or left during the surgery. The identity of the unknown doctor, the one who had appeared out of thin air and saved the young woman's life, remained a chilling mystery. These stories remind us that hospitals, places of healing and hope, can also be the settings for the most inexplicable and eerie events. Stay tuned for more chilling tales, and remember, sometimes the truth is stranger than fiction.